I hope you'll join me as we look into some of the answers to some of these symptoms that you might be experiencing. I know I have experienced them as well, and it has been eye-opening to see what I can do to improve it. So I want to share what I've learned with you tonight. And yeah, so join me, especially if you know you're somebody that has a sugar tooth or you like sugar a lot. I think most of us do, but we have to really intentionally keep a distance. And then if you know you're somebody that feels stressed a lot or is under a lot of pressure a lot of the time, this one might also be for you. And if you are somebody that likes to exercise a great deal, or you know you have a lot of inflammation in your body, maybe somebody has told you that, a doctor, or you've heard it somewhere and you think that you might have that, then this one is also for you. So today, what are we going to look at? We are going to look at vitamin C. So vitamin C, what is vitamin C? Vitamin C is a water-soluble essential nutrient, basically. And it's also a powerful antioxidant. It can't be, we say it's essential because it can't be synthesized in the body. It needs to be taken in through our diet and or supplementation. So let's have a look at, have a close look at vitamin C today. When we think about vitamin C, I don't know about you, but I always just think about oranges and citrus fruits when somebody tells me vitamin C. I think it's how we grow up, or how I grew up. But vitamin C isn't as just this normal and ordinary vitamin that we make it out to be, I think. It's actually a lot more. Dr. Eric Berg says that it is a stress survival molecule, and it's different than your normal vitamins. It's actually very, very important because it has to do with survival and emergencies. It's almost like a type of fire extinguisher. When you think about the fire extinguisher, it's usually when there is problems, when there is a fire, something that you have to extinguish a problem. So the vitamin C in our bodies does that, and that is why we need vitamin C. So what is the problems that sometimes happen? It's things like inflammation in our bodies. If we have an infection, we become sick, or if we have an injury somewhere in our bodies, or we experience emotional stress, physical stress, like when we exercise a lot, or when we are low in oxygen, when our bodies are low in oxygen. When we take in too many carbs, which is actually sugar, then vitamin C must also stand in for that. No, the vitamin C actually gets reduced if we take in a lot of carbs, because we'll get to the because part. Just hang on. So animals make their own vitamin C, but as we said, for us as humans, it is an essential vitamin. We'll also get to the sources of vitamin C, but I think it is important for us to notice that sometimes we exercise a lot and we don't realize that we have to take in more vitamin C because we are exercising. We actually feel like, I'm healthy, I'm exercising, but we forget that maybe we are already thinking we're taking enough vitamin C, but through our diet, but the exercise might have increased the need to take in more. And then yeah, we'll also get to the supplements and the vitamin C being synthetic, and not the natural type that we sometimes find in our supplements. Okay, we'll get to that. Let's move on. Okay, so let's go on with what is vitamin C. So vitamin C is also a cofactor, like a lot of the vitamins, the other vitamins that we also looked at. It's a cofactor that helps about 15 enzymes in our bodies to do its work efficiently. Vitamin C is quite sensitive, so fresh is best. It doesn't survive a lot of. It doesn't. It's not good in a lot of heat when it's exposed to heat or light, prolonged cooking, it's heat, or storing, and it's also air. If you it's sensitive to air, it's gonna lose its potency with those things. Then, as I said, you get a natural version of vitamin C, what we get through our food, and then you get synthetic vitamin C. And sometimes we think that the synthetic one is exactly the same as the natural one, but it isn't. They might be absorbed in the same way, because a lot of the studies, I think they based a lot of the studies on that. But it's actually not the same thing, because as vitamin C in a natural form is a type of vitamin C complex that we get in through our diets. It's not just the vitamin C on its own, just this structure. And sometimes the synthetic version isn't as good as the natural version because it doesn't have this vitamin C complex. It's, as I said, it's just that structure basically. And we all know that we'll get to the deficiency part, but the severe deficiency is scurvy, and about 80% of the vitamin C that we get from supplements is the synthetic vitamin C. And I've also learned that the synthetic vitamin C is derived mostly from cornstarch or corn sugar, and other chemicals is also used to produce it, like sulfuric acid. It's also a very cheap form of vitamin C. And so let's have a look at the complex, the vitamin C as a complex. So the antioxidant part is your vitamin C itself, but it also contains bioflavonoids, and that also has to do with the antioxidant effects, I believe. Then there's something called the J factor that helps with oxygen. And we'll get to the oxygen part as well. And then vitamin K, which has a effect in helping to decrease bleeding. It's part of the complex. And then there's also an copper in an enzyme form. And it is also said that most vitamin complexes comes with a mineral. So this one is copper. And I think I've also read somewhere or heard somewhere that it is a tyrosinase form. And the copper has a lot to do with the collagen and the connective tissue building. But we'll also get to that. And then the other parts are the phytonutrients. And it seems that they are still discovering new new things in regards to the vitamins and minerals. And so there might be other chemicals that we're not even aware of yet in the natural form. So, yeah, it's always best to take it in that way, I believe. Then, um, the next part is what it does and maybe how it works. So, firstly, as I've also said, that it's it's an antioxidant protection, or it gives antioxidant protection. It helps to regenerate other antioxidants like vitamin E, needed to regenerate veins and arteries, and it also reduces oxidative stress due to chronic disease. Then it is important for collagen synthesis, a critical cofactor, as we said, for enzymes producing collagen. So it's good for the connective tissues and the skin, the dry skin, and even the dry hair. Then it's good for the walls of the capillaries, making sure that they don't leak. And it supports skin, blood vessels, bones, cartilages, and wound healing. It's a powerful antioxidant. Then there's something that I've also learned is that in the natural form, it's an antioxidant, but in the synthetic form, it can actually be a pro-oxidant. So it doesn't have the beneficial effects. It's actually opposite of the antioxidant. So what happens is you get these free radicals in your body, sometimes which isn't good. It has a unpaired electron, and how did I want to say now? So the antioxidant, the vitamin C, comes and gives one of its electrons away to make the free radical more stable. But with the natural form, that with a natural form, the antioxidant doesn't become a problem. It doesn't become another free radical. But with a synthetic one, it gives its electron away, but then that molecule becomes the free radical. So it's actually a pro-oxidant. But with the natural antioxidants, they come as a network and not as an individual antioxidant. I think it also has, if you can also relate that to the vitamin C and the vitamin E, they can work together. I think I'll have a look at that some more. Maybe try and explain it better. And then it's important for us. Okay, well, we'll get to see who needs more. Okay, wait, let's see. What it does. Yeah, okay. So who needs more of the vitamin C? As we said, it's mostly all of us, take in too much sugar. I think I have to speak for myself. Taking too much sugar. If you are a smoker, you must make sure that you take in more. If you are fatigued, then you probably, if you are under a lot of stress, if you exercise a lot, as we also said, vitamin C supports the mitochondria of the cells, and it also helps to handle stress and recycle antioxidants. helping to absorb more iron and to get oxygen in the blood. So that all has to do with feeling tired. And yeah, oxygen. The oxygen connection, it also helps our bodies to respond properly to oxygen. Um, there's like a little alarm system in your body. If you are low in oxygen, then the blood cells sends out a message saying that it needs more vitamin C. A cell can actually suffocate without enough oxygen, and the lack of oxygen also produces inflammation, um, and maybe areas of stress in your body, and you'll feel like you don't have any endurance. I think that's about that. Okay, so it's also important to know that vitamin C's structure is also similar to the structure of sugar. And so the cell will rather decide to take the sugar than the vitamin C. So that's why if we have a high intake of sugar, then we might be vitamin C deficient because our body takes in the sugar but not the vitamin C. So just have to open the door for my cat, sorry. And then yeah, said about being a smoker. Then vitamin C is very important for our immune function, as we know. It also supports white blood cell activity, barrier integrity of the skin and mucosa, and may modestly lower the duration and severity of a common cold, especially if you are stressed or if you have for a short term, you use a high doses of vitamin C. Then it's also important for iron absorption, enhancing non-heme or plant iron absorption by reducing it to a more absorbable form. And it's useful for preventing iron deficiency anemia paired with plant foods. And then it is also involved in neurotransmitter synthesis, like norepinephrine, and carnitine production, which has to do with fat metabolism. It also supports cardiovascular health via endothelial function, and it also has blood pressure effects. Okay, and then we've also talked about it, but how does a deficiency look? What is the symptoms? How do you feel? How does it make you feel? So severe cases of deficiency isn't very common these days, but if there is deficiencies, it's mostly because of extreme dieting, which is probably something that happens these days more often. So the symptoms, well, we know scurvy, which is usually bleeding gums. I think that's something I remember when the sailors came home from being on sea. Then they have scurvy, and that is a vitamin C deficiency. Well, somewhere in history, I don't know if it still happens. I hope not. And then fatigue and weakness. The fatigue and weakness, as we said, just quickly check. I think I put in my paper that side. Fatigue and weakness, sorry. Sorry. And with the cats. No, dear. Sorry, the cat. Those sources. Got a cat problem. Okay. I don't think. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So, yeah, your inner energy will be low. Energy factor is not burning efficiently, and you will feel tired, weak, and foggy. And as we also said, you feel you can't recover or you have a low endurance. Yeah, and I think it can also have to do with the oxygen, if you don't have enough oxygen in your body. Yeah, and then scurvy is the end stage of severe vitamin C deficiency. But subclinical scurvy is probably what we mostly see these days. And yeah, it can have symptoms like slow healing. Slow healing, bruising easily, frequent infections, chronic fatigue, chronic inflammation. And it's not just about bleeding gums and loose teeth. Yeah, or red gums or gums bleeding easily. Yeah. Me and my cat, we're having a. We're taking it on here today. Sorry. Okay. I'm not nasty. Okay, and then some of the other symptoms are a loss of collagen. Okay, we know the loose teeth, lowered immune system, increased biofilms. Apparently, it has to do with flaking or tartar on your teeth. And then hypochondria is, I think, some of us have experienced it when you feel like you've got all the diseases that there probably is. It's because of all these different symptoms that you get with the deficiency. Depression, and when it comes to the skin, they call it perifollicular hyperketosis, and it has to do with, I think it's like a dryness around the hair follicle. And then anemia, dry hair, inflamed veins, the little varicose veins can have to do with that. Shortness of breath because of the oxygen problem, and yeah, I think a need for adrenal support probably. Then, if your body is deficient, the body will use the vitamin C that you have for the most essential enzymes to be able to function to its best. So it is possible for you to experience some of the symptoms of a deficiency, but not all of the symptoms, maybe. Yeah, so you might have a subclinical deficiency, but not a major one. But running out of vitamin C can be fatal. So, yeah, and a lot of the problems happened when we started to pasteurize our, like, pasteurize like the fruit juices and things like that, the milk, and that harms a lot of the vitamins and minerals that is in the things that we take in. But it's mostly because, well, we know it kills the germs, and it also helps us to be able to for these products to have a longer shelf life, so that you can store it for longer. Yeah. So 7 ways to know that we are low in vitamin C, and that this 7 came from Dr. Burke. He said bleeding of gums, small red purple dots, they call it petechiae. Petechiae? I think I've seen it before on your skin, just like little red dots. Bruising easily. Ecchymosis is the, they call it ecchymosis. Yeah, and that the bruising has to do with the vitamin K, which helps with the coagulation of blood, stopping bleeding. Dry, rough, scaly skin, chicken skin. Says that it's usually at the back of your arms here or on your legs or thighs, but it can also be due to an omega-3 deficiency. Chicken skin, so it's keratosis pilaris. And then nosebleeds and dry splitting hair, as you also said. Then, how can we supplement? I'm always itchy. Okay. So it's best for us to get it from food or food concentrates. And he mentioned lemons and lemon juice. I think he is Dr. Burke. And I think it is because he doesn't mention a lot about oranges and nartjies. I don't know if you know nartjie, but it's a type of citrus food. We call it a narkie here in South Africa. I think it's because it also contains a lot of sugar. So we talked about lemons and the lemon peel and the lemon juice, but it's still better to use the lemon juice directly from the lemon, because those that you buy in the store, or they put in a lot of preservatives, or they pasteurize it, so it actually harms the vitamin C content. Yeah, and I also I'm trying now to I've got fresh lemon juice, so I'm putting it in my water daily, my bottle of water that I take with me to work, and it tastes good. Yeah, so it gives me a little bit of vitamin C, extra vitamin C, and a good taste to my water. And then bell peppers, green, red, yellow, berries, blueberries, cabbage, the leafy greens. And then what is also talked about a lot is the sauerkraut. I haven't tried it, but I want to. It gives you 10 times the amount that your body needs. And then apparently apple cider vinegar can also be a good source. And then the leafy greens, except for cabbage, you also get broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, things like that. Yeah, so it's important for us to look for supplements that the source from where they got the vitamin is natural, and and it's not been pasteurized or exposed to heat. Cats. Yeah, the recommended daily allowance is about 70 to 80%, 70 to 80 milligram per day. And I don't know if you've seen, but most of the natural forms, no, not the natural forms, the synthetic forms come in dosages of about 500 to 1,000 milligrams. But we must remember that those only give us a part of the vitamin C complex. And yeah, sometimes the cheaper versions isn't the best versions of the vitamin C. So, yeah, in the Patrick Wolford book, he also mentioned again the optimal daily dose, and I think he said that it's about 2,000 milligrams. And then a good diet might get about 200 milligrams, and average diet about 100 milligrams. So we've got a deficiency of about 1,800 milligrams, mostly. I don't know if it's, it must have been a scientific study, but yeah, I can also have a look at that again. I'm gonna start again. Sorry. Okay, and then we're going on more sources of vitamin C. Organ meats, but it doesn't supply the full amount of the RDA. Beef liver supplies about 27 milligram. And yeah, as we said, fruit and vegetables, peppers, greens, steak, so it gives you about 25 micrograms. And we also said about the sauerkraut. And something I found very interesting was it was also Dr. Eric Berg that mentioned you get your apple juice and it says 100% apple juice, and you're like, it's got everything. But we don't realize that, okay, so if you have your apple, which gives you around a cup if you cut it off, and about a cup of the apple juice, then the juice contains about 7 teaspoons of sugar, and the apple about 6 teaspoons of sugar. And I must think what I'm saying. Yeah, so in the first place, it's a lot of sugar. At any time, apparently, during our life, we only need about a teaspoon of sugar running through our bodies. So we take in a lot of excess sugar. But that being said, the difference between taking the apple and the apple juice is that the apple contains fiber, and that there's also other ingredients that hasn't been exposed to heat, because remember, the apple juice most probably has been pasteurized. They maybe put in some ascorbic acid, synthetic ascorbic acid, some extra to preserve it a bit. But you get in less sugar, or in a different way from the apple. You don't get that sugar spike in the way that you get it from the pure apple juice or the apple juice. Because the fiber has an effect in the way which the sugar is absorbed, or in the way it works in elevating our sugar levels. And it's almost like it buffers the insulin response. But when we take in the juice, it pushes our blood sugar level higher fast, and after about 30 minutes, then we feel tired and we're hungry. So it's maybe something to think about when we decide on apples or apple juice, or fresh or processed. It's basically what it is. And then the large amount of sugar in the apple juice also will have an effect on the absorption of the ascorbic acid. As we said, that most of the synthetic vitamin C's come from corn and sulfuric acid and chemicals like that. Sometimes they even add maltodextrin to synthetic vitamin C in the production process. And this can impair vitamin C absorption. because maltodextrin is a sugar, and it's going to compete with the vitamin C for absorption. And then, yeah, actually what I said, the chemistry of vitamin C and glucose correlate a lot. So if the body have to decide what it wants to absorb, the sugar or the vitamin C, it would rather decide. It would decide to to absorb the sugar. Our bodies are just like us, and then and then yeah, that's that. And then maybe just a quick pro tip that I also got is that, okay, just back to the that one. Okay, so it's important for us to supplement or to get a supplementation of vitamin C, but it's important for us to make sure that it is naturally derived or from vitamin C rich foods rather. I think I'd opt for the synthetic version in high doses in for short periods, maybe not long-term periods, because I think a lot of the products that we have on the shelf is synthetic. And then, yeah, trying to look at the diet rather. Cutting out things that blocks our vitamin C is important. So we must try to reduce our stress levels, reduce our carb intake or sugar, reduce the sugars that we take in, processed foods, yeah, things like that. And also remember that if you are exercising more, you're putting your body under stress. I think for a long time I didn't really take note of that when I exercised more. And yeah, remember to eat more vitamin C rich foods. And yeah, I've heard a lot about the sauerkraut, and I think it's been people have been motivating me to look at my intake of sauerkraut, maybe try it. They say about half a cup a day, and apparently the bacteria that's in there doesn't produce the vitamin C, but it helps to protect it. And yeah, it's just a good form. There's also other foods that do contain vitamin C, but I think yeah, it's the foods that have a lot more sugar. It's probably like the apple, but strawberries, kiwi, mango, guava, and papaya. But I think it's not talked about a lot because yeah, we actually don't want to motivate ourselves to just eat those foods because it is very sugary. Yeah, so we can tell ourselves that we're actually we are eating more healthily, but we must just remember to also do it in moderate amounts if it does contain a lot of sugar. So maybe just focus more on the greens and the berries, blueberries maybe, the peppers, the lemons, the sauerkraut, yeah, leafy greens, and let's optimize our vitamin C intake through what we eat, and let us be more aware. So I hope that this has been somewhat informative to you and that it will help you on your way. I think it's going to help me. Go well.